Did you ever think about why we have public schools
The story starts before Wisconsin was a state.
when our democracy was still new?
If you were a kid, you might have gone to school.
Or you might have been doing child labor. How does that feel?
Wealthy people hired private tutors. People who had virtually no resources sometimes had access to charity schools sponsored by churches.
Not only was this unfair,
It also meant you didn't learn basic skills.
like how to understand the perspective of someone from a different walk of life.
And if we couldn't even talk to each other, how's our democracy going to survive? The point of common schools
What we now call public schools.
was so people could understand each other. And yes, you heard that right.
That was actually the reason.
But at the same time, there was a lot of tax resistance.
Without funding, it was hard to live up to the goals.
The student-teacher ratio was 61-1.
Like a young student who wants to do great things, Wisconsin seemed to believe in education, but not know how to pull it off just yet.
The school was old, dilapidated, unpainted, and half unglazed, without playground or shade, and has not any kind of retreat for the performance of nature's most private and necessary offices. What they're saying is there wasn't even an outhouse.
Meanwhile, teachers were 19th century style couch surfing, going between communities for part-time gigs. But as our people and our economy grew and became more diverse, a funny thing happened. People started to apply a little science to make aspects of our society more efficient, including education.
The idea was that teaching is a science and that people need thorough training in the latest methods grounded in research so that they can be effective in the classroom.
In the Badger State, this was all part of our favorite catchphrase, the Wisconsin idea, weaving threads of insight discovered by researchers into the fabric of the whole state, so everybody felt better about their quality of life.
Now you knew, wherever you were in the state, that your teacher was applying the latest discoveries to help you succeed.
And that wasn't the end of the renovations they made.
We can find the roots of our modern public school system in the Progressive Era.
Older and younger kids started going to different schools.
Then there were specialists to coordinate and support all those schools and educators. The soloist school teacher became an education orchestra, with lots of people playing different important parts.
Mainstream schools also started accepting and serving some students with disabilities. All in all, we start redesigning education to help more children to succeed in more aspects of life.
The school before that had almost separated the child's learning life in the classroom from the child's learning life outside the classroom, and that it was much better to have a school where the whole child could be understood and included.
From interest to career goals, the mission became to serve everyone.
But it was a new idea. It would be a while before Wisconsin schools really served everyone.
I think the real breakthroughs were after World War II. As the quality of life has improved, a huge part of the quality of life is education. The system being envisioned as a K through college system, all publicly funded. And the expectations really soared.
And yet some problems still persisted.
As recently as the 1960s, they would take entire classrooms of black students to underused schools elsewhere in Milwaukee. They have their own lunches and kind of move them back to their schools at the end of the day.
It's been a long road.
We're better at serving every student, whatever their needs and interests, whatever their race, gender, religion, ability, or economic background.
But data show we're not there yet. We still aren't making the most of our state's human potential.
We haven't succeeded yet in coming to a consensus as a state or a country about how we know when educational opportunity is equal.
One way to answer that question and continue the progress we've made so far is empowering the education orchestra
To make whatever updates each student needs
to feel safe, get engaged.
and contribute their potential to the rest of us.
We can make our state stronger, one student at a time.
So
let's keep
learning.
together.